There's always been one thing that everyone's begged to return to Warzone ever since it was initially removed, and no, it certainly wasn't that Gaia skin. What I'm talking about, of course, was the original Warzone Battle Royale map, Verdansk. For years now, fans have been speculating as to whether this map was ever gonna make its glorious return to Warzone 2.0, and there have been plenty of rumors over the last year or so that at one point even initially indicated that it might have been coming in 2024. And officially, the developers at Activision have not only kept quiet, but have in the past outright stated that Verdansk will never return to Warzone. And hey, you can't get much more official or definitive than that, can ya? Of course, that certainly wouldn't be the first time that Activision has told fibs to its players, to put it lightly. And recent reports from Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson have suggested that plans to bring Verdansk back to the game are back on. In fact, it could be the very next main Battle Royale map that we see. Interestingly though, according to Insider Gaming's reports, this OG map was never actually part of the plan for Warzone or Black Ops 6's launch. Instead, work had begun on a brand new map set to launch alongside the new game, a plan which was scrapped at the end of 2023 in favor of bringing Verdansk back. The idea is, according to these sources, that the success of similar nostalgia players like Fortnite OG swayed executives to play it safe, and after an internal delay, Verdansk will be back in the game sometime in early 2025. And while plenty will see this as a clear W, hell, I'm as excited as anyone to get in some more scraps on Storage Town, will it be enough to save Warzone in the eyes of the majority of players? Since the launch of Warzone 2.0, we've undeniably seen the game struggle to connect with players like in the glory years of the original release. The changes that were slowly but surely rolled back from 2.0 pretty much made that game dead on arrival. And while positive moves have been made in the years since, primarily the changes to movement and gameplay that came with the launch of Modern Warfare 3, as well as solid new Resurgence maps and the return of fan favorites, there's still a general feeling that Warzone is missing something. Many players online have spent a long time wondering just what hasn't hit the same since they stomped across Verdansk with their buddies, myself included. And some have come to the conclusion that it was the map itself which set Warzone's early success apart from other BR titles. So when Verdansk returns in 2025, Warzone will be back at its peak. Right? Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite as simple as that. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be the contrarian and say something like Verdansk was always bad and we were stupid for thinking it was ever good to begin with. Its authored POIs and connective areas are not only iconic, but facilitate satisfying game flow and pacing. The divergent geography, moving from sprawling urban areas to airports and military bases, was visually striking in spite of the rather bland color palette, while the verticality on display, whether that was the skyscraper combat of downtown or fighting your way up a dam, felt more natural than it did in the successors. That said, you still can't ignore that Verdansk, as much as we love it, was elevated by other factors that made it a little bit more than the sum of its parts. For me, Warzone, when it launched, was not only an entry point into the whole genre, but a much needed comfort at a time when I, at least, needed it the most. Though I tried and failed to get into Battle Royale games previously, whether it was H1Z1, Apex, PUBG, Fortnite, or even Call of Duty's own Blackout, it wasn't until Warzone that I fully got it, that I fully felt gripped by this genre. It being free to play, allowing me to more easily convince my pals to join me, its more immediate mechanics like the Gulag system, easier buybacks, loadouts, and of course Verdansk itself, all contributed to finally delivering a Battle Royale suite that I, like others, could finally be able to jump into with 2 feet. More than just the mechanical tweaks it offered though, there's no denying that Warzone hit at the right time. Dropping right at the start of the pandemic as lockdowns were sweeping the globe and people began working from home, it undeniably brought comfort to many. And again, I can only speak for myself in this situation, but I hadn't really touched online multiplayer games with friends specifically for a few years until I started playing Warzone. Me and my friends used to game together all the time on party chat, but you know how it goes. Life, work, and everything else just ends up getting in the way the older you get. After March 2020 though, we literally had nothing else to do, and so we began to reconnect while playing rounds of Warzone. And slowly but surely, journeys into the heart of Verdansk became more than just a nice distraction, but a fundamental coping mechanism for my whole existence. Verdansk was more than just a place where you could shoot other players' digital operators in the face, hone your skills, climb the leaderboards, and chase the meta. It became a genuine point of connection. For me, it became an easy way to feel social, to keep a sense of community and humanity alive at a time where that seemed so hard to grasp. And even outside of that, it just gave me something to focus on. While the early days of the pandemic had me almost dreading leaving work to move literally a meter from my table to the couch with an empty night of being isolated ahead, Warzone became a second job. Hell, it became the best job I have ever had or will ever had. I know that for sure. In all seriousness though, I genuinely don't know what I would have done without it in that period of my life. And of course, I'm not saying that my relationship with Verdansk is the same as everyone else's out there. Of course not. I'm sure there are a good chunk of people out there with a similar story, but I'm not saying this exact reason is why every player talks so fondly about the early days of Warzone. However, even without this context, there are a bunch of other factors surrounding those early days of Warzone that definitely contribute to people's fun nostalgia. It was a true event when it arrived, a significant moment that revitalized the COD franchise as a whole. To many, like I said, it'll have been their entry point into BR. The new mechanics felt fresh and exciting, and more importantly, it promised that this was just the start. More was to come, and truth be told, we've been chasing that dragon ever since. And this is all central to one simpler reason why I think Verdansk is so sought after: nostalgia. By the time the map drops in 2025, it'll have been a whopping 5 whole years since Warzone even launched. Since then, we've all lived a whole lot of life, and even in terms of just media, that period has seen the launch of 4, soon to be 5, Call of Duty games, a whole new generation of consoles, and Activision itself becoming part of the Microsoft Corporation. Verdansk then now kind of feels like it's part of a different era of COD history, one we naturally will end up looking at with rose-tinted glasses. I mean, I was around when everyone hated Call of Duty Ghosts, and now that has a fandom who absolutely love it. These things just happen. And hey, nostalgia is powerful. Nostalgia sells. As per the Insider Gaming report I mentioned earlier, bringing back the OG map of Fortnite saw its numbers skyrocket. The release of World of Warcraft Classic was more popular than anyone could imagine. Remakes like Resident Evil 4 continue to sell gangbusters. The nostalgia play is immensely profitable. I mean, it's right there in the Insider Gaming report as to why Verdansk is coming back at all. It's not necessarily from a creative desire to see it return, it's because, quote, Activision is adamant to see a massive resurgence of players, end quote. The thing about nostalgia, though, is that it also has a tendency to lie. Like I said earlier, Verdansk is a great and iconic map, but it's not like it was ever perfect. I know, I was in the trenches with everyone else when this game launched. I remember being on the subreddits, reading articles online and watching the big streamers at the time play the game, and there was just as much criticism about Warzone and Verdansk specifically then than there was about Warzone now. Probably less than Warzone 2.0, but the point is, everyone's always been critical of this game. There's never really been a perfect version of it, just one that some people liked more than the other. Hell, Caldera refreshing the playing space and replacing Verdansk felt like it was way overdue when it finally happened, because we had been playing on that original map for so goddamn long, and at the time everyone was just eager for something new. And again, Verdansk overall was a great map, undeniably, but will its original issues, combined with the issues that Call of Duty Warzone has in its current form, make it play like we remember it playing? And when Verdansk does return, what version of the map will it even look like? Because of its live service nature, different players will remember Verdansk differently depending on when they played the game. So is there even an ideal version of Verdansk that will satisfy every player? I'm not sure if there is. Will we go back to the OG version where Stadium wasn't even open? Will the Nakatomi Plaza and Embassy be included? Hell, will we have the 1984 filter, or will it be the original art style? The point I'm trying to make is that Verdansk was many things across its original run, and that's not to mention tweaks, updates, and changes that'll no doubt be made by the current developers to freshen up areas or accommodate the new gameplay style. What I'm saying overall is that, look, I'm excited to see Verdansk come back. I'll be right with everyone else playing it with my pals when it drops, but is it the thing that Warzone needs in the long term to succeed? Is it the ace up the sleeve that will save the game in the eyes of many, including Activision? Yeah, it will accomplish Activision's goals and bring back players, no doubt, but how many of them will stick around once that nostalgia wears off? How many of Warzone's current issues will drag that experience down? The returning map, because of all of the reasons I've mentioned here, almost has impossible boots to fill. And yep, it'll certainly be a good time, but I don't think it'll be the thing that saves Warzone. So that's my little Call of Duty Warzone rant. This game, I might not seem like it, but it means a whole lot to me, and so does Verdansk. And I'm gonna have fun with it. Of course I'm gonna have fun with it. You're gonna have fun with it. I don't want us to set our expectations too high and expect us to feel like we did in 2020 or 2021. That's all I'm trying to say. I hope you have a good time. I hope Warzone continues to succeed and they listen to feedback, and I hope it does become the game that we all want it to be. I'm looking forward to Black Ops 6, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you agree with me here, or are you just excited to get back into the trenches? Look, I don't blame you. While you're down there as well, though, could you also please give us a like, share, subscribe if you did, for some reason, like this video. Don't worry, we've got way better ones on the channel that you should definitely check out. Until then, though, I don't know if that works with the sign-off, but until then, I've been Josh, and I will see you soon.